Something has changed quite recently in Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown, and it all surrounds the Discord and the Maserati MC20. Kind of built the livery here for the Maserati MC12, kind of modernised it over towards the MC20, but enough about that. Something's changed that I've noticed over the last week or so down in Discord for Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown, and it all surrounds one very interesting race. Of course, that race in question is the Crown Jewel Jade race. Supercar or hypercar with a minimum RP of 850, and of course the question begs, can the MC20 hang with the OP cars in game? We can obviously see the usual culprit, GR Pecuvius, at the top of the leaderboard so far with these refreshed times of 10 minutes and 29. Now already we can see the Koenigsegg Agera RS is very much the OP car, and our usual culprit, Asai Yunon, who I had a pleasure of speaking with yesterday, recording the fastest supercar time in the McLaren MP412C with 11 minutes and 14 seconds. As we scroll down this leaderboard, absolutely dominated by the hypercars, it comes as absolutely no surprise. The next supercar in line is the Ford GT, the 2016 edition Kuro, with 11 minutes 33.17. Fletchick kind of Ferrari Pista 11.54, Zingy Ferrari Pista 11.56. So we can see that, you know, not many people are using the supercars to record the fast times, and you guys know I like a challenge, and that's going to be the challenge here. What kind of time can the MC20 record? Now, it's not a car I love in game, it's not a car I've used all too much, but I know a lot of you guys are using it, and we can obviously see down in Discord for TDU, a lot of people are using this thing, so I've threw the tune together for this, so share it at the end of the video, and we'll see what kind of time we can set with the Maserati. I don't personally love this car. I think it could be improved. There's a couple of issues I have with it. The back end's a bit leery for my liking. The gearbox isn't great. You know, I'll share more of that towards the end of the video. But it does get to that top speed fairly well. And yeah, let's give it a try on Crown Jewel, the Crown Jewel Jade race. Now, this might be a controversial one. This race around the map, which is what Crown Jewel Jade is, I say is better than Forza Horizon's Goliath. You guys can let me know if that's a hot take. You can let me know if you agree or disagree. Please do let me know in the comment section down below. But I firmly believe that the Crown Jewel Jade race is better than Forza Horizon's Goliath. With that bombshell, let's talk about the Maserati itself. At high speeds here, we can see, you know, it's managing the freeway or the motorway section fantastically well. Get a bit of judder there. That has disappeared since I, took the Windows update back. Hopefully that goes away for now. And that is in the recording. That never happened in the race, just for full clarity. But the Maserati itself, these high-speed freeway sections, handling it fantastically well. I've seen a couple of interesting tunes down in the Discord that people are playing with the diffs, the high acceleration, low deceleration. I can't personally do that. If I have high acceleration differentials, especially in the rear, then I just lose the back end on these kind of corners. Don't make a good job of that one, in all honesty, but I can't have that on these high performance cars. Yes, coming down into lower RP cars, perhaps even just down towards the daily driver category, that's where that differential play for me comes in. But when we come up to these high spec cars, moving that differential all the way up towards acceleration, low deceleration, it just plays havoc in high speed corners. Kind of got this one fairly well balanced, I believe. I don't actually believe I touched the differential. Might have to check that towards the end. But it's an interesting car. When we come into some of these slower corners, we can see just the previous corner there, the back end does want to slide from underneath us, and it does unsettle me personally when I'm using this car specifically. I do believe there's many better cars in this category, the supercar category, than the MC20. But with that being said, I'm not saying that this isn't a good car, because it is simply fantastic. First of all, like every other car in this game, Test Drive Unlimited have nailed the audio. Apologies. They've absolutely nailed the audio. The backfiring, the crackles through the exhaust. This thing sounds absolutely phenomenal. Yes, it does handle, it does. It handle very, very well indeed. But it's just not the level of handling that I want, essentially, in a supercar is probably the best way to phrase it. Likes of the Ford GT, the Lamborghini Huracan, they're kind of the ones I would lean towards. The Jaguar F-Type SVR, I think, is possibly the most broken, the best car in game. along with the likes of the Huracan Performante, the Audi TTRS, the Bentley GT Continental, of course that Porsche Taycan that I've never driven in game, but we can see just how broken it is. But this car, it's got a little way to go to get up towards that kind of level. It's not on the upper bracket, but we need to obviously understand, can this thing hang with the OP cars in games? So far it's actually doing a very good job. We've got about a 7 or 8 second lead over the rest of the AI here, but we're coming into a very fast section here. I mean, you have to be as brave as we possibly can, have as very little mistakes as we can to try and record a competitive time. For me, I would be happy to break into the top 100 in this supercar in that category. We obviously know it's heavily dominated by the hypercars and a few outliers there in some fantastically quick times in supercars. Asa Yunon obviously is going to be up there, a couple of 488 pistas, so this thing's got a lot of competition to stand up to. I've seen some interesting times down in Discord, whether they're true times or not, I'm not sure. Whether it includes wall riding, I'm not sure, but some people are touting that they're doing an 11-minute 40 around Jade in this very specific car. We'll find out where I'm positioned with that one towards or at the end of this race. Let's talk about the race though. We've kind of glossed over a lot bit. We're 4.5 minutes in already. We've not really spoken much about the race itself. Coming in at quite a good section, a very fast high-speed snaking section here, where we're going to depend on all of the, I was going to say downforce, but all of the grip that this MC20 has got, which it has got on these high-speed sections. Backing off a little bit just around that left-hander there. Didn't want to overcommit, didn't want that back end stepping out on a fully open throttle. But this section right here is where we have to be brave. Coming down the forest section, down through all these trees, our vision starts to go slightly. It all comes at us ever so quickly. We've got to be as brave as we can, try and keep that throttle absolutely planted, bringing as much speed as we can, trying to hold that back end through some of those sections. That actually happened because I lifted. I took my foot off the throttle, my finger off the throttle, and it actually made the back end step out. So a bit of a live rear axle on the back of this MC20, causing the back end to slide out when we close the throttle off. Apologies. Hellish cough today, guys. I must apologise on that one. Coming back down though, we can start to get this thing back on track. Well, we hope so. We coming a little bit hot to that right-hander, outbraking ourselves just a little bit, but we managed to keep it off of the barriers. Importantly, managing to carry most of our momentum out of that corner. Back downhill once again here. Can we fully commit through the left-hander? No, we do not. We back off. We know this left-hander here, it tightens up quite a lot here, but we can fully open that throttle once again and carry on this big, fantastic coast side almost. It's a big coast side kind of, not coast side, what's the word I'm looking for? Forest side mountain road in the MC20, making a meal of that one, guys. But we can enjoy the road that we've got here because this simply is a fantastic road that we've got. The MC20 is handling it fantastically well. Perhaps it's my driving ability that's not kind of up to scratch so far, but we feel like we're setting a competitive time in the MC20, 13 seconds ahead of the rest of the pack. We just need to keep this one tidy and clean, keep those mistakes away, keep the throttle down as best as we can around these big sweeping right-handers. We're committing, guys. We're all the way through here, not lifting, even though the game's braking zone is telling us we want to lift through some of these sections. We keep that foot planted, we fully commit, we want to drive this thing as hard and as fast as we possibly can. Coming back in towards the city section now, things do start to tighten up, so we want to start to be a bit more cautious. And as we know with these endurance style races, when we get to that 50, 60, 70% mark, the psychological aspect comes into mind. It's going to be devastating to make a mistake at these kind of levels, and it starts to build that pressure up in your head. Can we keep our focus? Can we stay fully committed? Well, time will tell. In through the right-hander, we come in a little bit hot, but we do manage to carry ourselves quite well through it. Up into the left-hander, once again lifting off a little bit, let the back end slip round just a little bit, but once again getting through that little section, all clean so far. Now this one here, when I've previously done that, I have went in very hot with just that very small left-hander, but there's a little crest in the middle of it and it will unsettle the car, so it does always stay in my mind that I do lift coming into that left-hander. Blasting all the way through here, 63% almost on the percentage level of the race already done. We're absolutely flying through it today. And we make our first mistake. We lose the back end of the MC20. Like I said, this thing has got a very live rear axle. Lifting mid-corner had caused the spin out there for the MC20, so the first mistake was made. And that one's probably going to be crucial towards the end of the race when we do see that race time. We lost a lot of time losing the back end there. It was a very fast, sweeping left-hander. Unfortunately, lifted off, lost the back end, and lost a boatload of time. But we won't dwell on it. We will push on. Maybe we try and make that time back up. Maybe it causes us to make another mistake. Let's find out what happens. Pushing back through double left-hander right there, handling those fantastically well. In through this left-hander, does tighten up on us, but it does also open up. It is, once again, one of those trickier left-handers. Managing it all right, I would say. A little lift there, a little kick out of the back end, but so far, the MC20 is fairly well balanced. It's just not the level of grip I want in a supercar, essentially there. Apologies for the cough, guys. Sorry if it's coming through the microphone. Got a bit of a dodgy throat today. Let's get back into the race though. A little tight city section just here. Those alliterations are hard for a Scotsman to say. A little tricky section just there. We got through it alright. We come back into these flying sections now, right through the heart of Hong Kong Island. This is where we want to try and carry as much speed as we possibly can. For me, this is where the time's going to be made up. How much speed can we carry through? Can we stay fully committed along this big treble carriageway section? So far, we've been fully planted throughout it all, trying to stay in the middle of the road, trying not to scrub any time off, moving left and right until we do come up to this section right here, backing off just a little bit. We probably could have carried a little bit more speed through there, but overall, I feel like we've carried enough speed to stay competitive, 25 seconds ahead of the rest of the pack. We just want to fully commit this one, send this thing all the way to the finish line. There are a few tricky sections coming up that we do want to be prepared for, so these sections right here are the crucial ones, carrying as much speed as we possibly can at full throttle, keep that thing wide open until we do come up to those tricky sections. We want to be carrying all of the speed as we can. Just up ahead here, we do want to cut across the track right there. It's tricky, especially at 230 miles per hour. And once again, lifting that throttle, causing the back end of the MC20 to step out. Fortunately, it doesn't appear we lost all too much time with that one. So it does look like that central reservation did save our skin. As we turn off here, this is where the MC20 for me lets itself down. These slower sections under full throttle with a lot of torque, the back end wants to constantly step out. We've got full slick tyres fitted here. We're looking for this thing to honker itself down to the ground. And for me, it just doesn't, especially under that early acceleration. The back end just wants to step out. Coming out of these big left-handers, the back end wants to step out. And for me, it just unsettled us for, getting that full acceleration. Cutting across the track there, the barriers aren't causing us too much of an issue. This right-hander always causes me issues. I don't know why, because it's at the same place every time I do this race. But I always outbrake myself into that right-hand corner. But with that being said, the most trickiest parts of this race are now well and truly out of the way. We've got this big sweeping right-hander here, the last one that we make a mistake on before the big freeway section to round us out. We've got about 12% here, and this is just the home stretch, guys. Foot flat to the floor, head for that finish line, and see what kind of time we did set. It's probably about another 10 to 15 seconds away from where we're currently sat. I don't think there's anything else tricky coming up from memory. We just want to pin it. Foot flat to the floor, get this thing into top gear, get it to its top speed, and just see what kind of, time we can set, but more importantly for me, what kind of speed we can get out of this one, what kind of speed are we going to get out of the tune. I believe the tune I've built has a max speed of 260 miles an hour, but right now we're still under that 245 mark. This thing, we're leaving a bit on the table here. Maybe that tune needs to be refined a little bit more. We're hitting 250 miles an hour. We've still got 10 miles per hour. We want to be utilising 8 miles, 7 miles an hour. There is still some room on the table here. For me, I would rather have been at those higher speeds a little bit quicker. So maybe those gears need to be pulled in just a little bit more once again to get us up to that top end. But as we do cross the start-finish line, what kind of time are we going to set? Where are we going to place on the leaderboard in the MC20? The very specific reason we do this race, however, is for the rewards. Completing that race out, of course, the very first attempt, 110,000. Now we think about the tunnel runs, we're getting 100,000 every time. We can only get that 10 times. With the same kind of time there, we can be spent doing Crown Jewel Jade. A little hot tip there for easy money. The time we've set, though, we didn't get into that top 100. We ended up in 107th place. a minute and a half behind the MP412C time set from Asayunon. So yeah, for me it's not that supercar to challenge the other supercar times on the board. Compared to the the Ford GT, a minute 1 second slower. Now, yes, I did make mistakes, but there weren't a minute's worth of mistakes made in that race. For me, it just feels like this thing is the level below the likes of the Ford GT, the Pista, and of course, Asayunon's MP412C. Jaeger just below us there, 12 minute 45, so we've got comparable times in the MC20. What's above us? Is there any Maseratis? Not that I can quickly see here. There's an Avija, there's a 488 Pista, and there's an Aventador SVJ. Maserati 3 places below us, so I would say we're probably comparable with the other Maserati times there. A 911R, that's an interesting one. It's a car I'm desperate to use in game, I've just not used yet, so we'll settle with that one for now. 12 minutes 44.24 in the Maserati. Chances are there was 10, 15, maybe even 20 seconds left on the board that would have brought us up towards, 97th, maybe 95th place. Yeah, maybe saving some time there with, cutting out some of the mistakes. So that's down to driver error, but for me, I don't think the supercar category, the Maserati is in the top tier of the supercar category, not for that Crown Jewel Jade race specifically. Let's talk about the tune, however. Like I mentioned in the early part of the video, the tune I've built here, it's heavily focused towards acceleration, bumping everything towards the right, trying to make the latter gears more linear with 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th gear. I think we've left a bit much on the table, especially with that 8th gear, trying to get 260 miles per hour. Of course, downforce, not having any downforce in the front, lifting off the rear to try and get some more top end. It's kind of how that one's been put together. Suspension's my usual build there, low to the ground and very, very stiff, but still some room for that thing to bounce across the track. You guys can pause the video, use that tune, replicate it, improve it, and let me know. As for the handling, usual. Nice and tight on the anti-roll bars. A bit of negative camber there to help that thing get through the corners. Maybe that's why I'm spinning out on the lower end. Maybe have to adjust that one, but that's kind of how I have set up the MC20 brakes. The usual kind of setup there, 70%, between 400 and 500 for the brake pressure. You guys go and use that tune. Let me know what kind of tune you're using, what improvements can be made to that to make this MC20 better. Let me know what kind of time you guys are all setting though around Crown Jewel Jade, and if you are using the MC20. Furthermore, you guys suggest to me what car should I be using for Crown Jewel Jade. That could be the next video that we put together. You guys tell me what car you want me to use around Crown Jewel Jade. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Apologies for my cough and apologies for the fact that I can barely get a sentence out today. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed it. Smash up the like button, subscribe, tap on the bell, all the usual good stuff, and stay tuned for the next update on Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown.